Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the Literally Me podcast, episode 10. My name is Dino, and I'm joined by my boy Tristan. Tristan, can you believe it? 10 episodes already.
10, I know. This is a big milestone for us already.
It is. Very cool
They
milestone.
the haters doubted us, but here we are 10 weeks later. 11
10,
weeks, technically,
11.
episode 0.
We did 11 episodes, actually.
That's true. That's true. And
That's cool.
each one keeps getting better and better, in my opinion, at least.
I think so as well. I think it
Yeah,
got more fluent,
yeah,
just
I
it flows
agree.
better.
I agree. Guys, thank you for hanging in. We're finally getting the hang of it. It only took us 10, 11 episodes, but we're
Mhm.
getting there.
Still no mics, though. I don't know when that's gonna happen,
Yeah,
but
we'll have to do that one soon. That's season 2, folks. Season
season
2 of
two.
Literally Me. We're gonna go up.
But people have told me that the audio is great because people ask me what mics we use, and I told them we don't use any. Like, what?
Yeah, because I've listened back to a few. I don't listen to all of them because I hate the sound of my voice, but I've
Hmm.
listened back to a few key episodes,
Hmm.
and it sounds like pretty comparable to some other podcasts that I listen to.
Sounds fine
Um,
to
yeah, sounds good to me. Shout out to Apple AirPods and to just computer microphones.
hmm They do good
Well,
microphones. I have a Mac as well, and
yeah, MacBooks got the microphones on point for sure.
they do a great job.
Well, I know you kind of had you had a big week this week. Did you get a chance to see anything and all or no?
Big week. I didn't get to watch anything except for this week's movie, which is, of course, The Green Knight,
Yes, sir.
directed by David Lowery. It came
Mm-hmm.
out in 2021, starring Dev Patel, Alicia Vikander, Joel Edgerton, and a bunch of others. I don't know if I
Mm-hmm.
butchered those names, but you guys know who I'm talking
We
about.
got it. We got it though.
Yeah. And we also have a special guest joining us
Yes,
later for
special
the movie
appearance for the
discussion.
special 10th episode.
Our first guest, not the person I like last week I mentioned someone. That person
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately couldn't make it, but someone else reached out. So yeah, we'll have our first guest.
A true Green Knight fan, so I've been told. So I'm looking forward to having two proper Green Knight fans to discuss this
Mhm.
first time watch for me with.
Yeah, it's gonna
Um,
be interesting.
yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Hmm.
I didn't really get to do much watching that much either. I think the only thing I watch because I think for the folks at home to pull down the veil and talk a little inside baseball here, we usually at least for the last couple of weeks we've had like 2 weeks in between recordings. We've both just been so
Hmm.
busy. So I think for maybe the last 2 or 3 episodes, there's been a solid chunk. So we watched a lot, but this one might have been the least amount. I don't even think it's been a full week since our last recording. I think it's maybe been 5 or 6 days.
I think
Um,
6. Yeah.
which is still a decent chunk of time, I realize now. But the
But
only
we
thing
both didn't get to watch a lot.
yeah, the only thing I mentioned last week, I've really been sucked into Succession.
Hmm.
I just began season 3.
How's
I
that
don't
going?
think dude, this show is just truly amazing. Did you get a
Hmm.
chance to look up to see if it was available for you
I
anywhere?
looked it up, um, but it doesn't seem because the way this streaming service works, you have to
Hmm.
pay for movies and TV shows extra.
Oh, interesting. So what's
So,
on there then if you don't pay for either?
well, you have to pay. Like,
Oh,
so
it's
if
just you have to pay for one or the other or both?
you have to pay for the one or the other or both. And I had
Oh, I
both
see, I see.
to watch The Last of Us,
Uh-huh.
but then I canceled it and I forgot I canceled it.
I see.
And then I can only watch the movies. And
I see.
but when you subscribe to both, you save money. So then it's instead of like $10, I think it's 7
Okay. Makes sense.
each. So yeah, but
Makes
I might
sense.
have to get it to watch it.
It is pretty awesome. I definitely understand the hype. And I think the finale, at least at the time of this recording, I think by the time that this episode is out, I think
Mhm.
Succession might be done.
Yeah,
Because I
next week.
believe the finale is this coming Sunday, I think.
Interesting.
Um, so I don't think I'll be caught up by then, but
Hmm.
I'm certainly trying to get there as fast as I can. But I will say this is one of the few shows that I was talking to my cousin about this that I can genuinely see myself like revisiting on like an annual basis. And I don't think
Really?
I've ever said that about any show or I've ever done that for any show. Um,
I need to check it out so we can talk about it.
Yes. It's super dope, and I think you would like it a lot. And each season so far just seems to be getting better and better. So very much looking forward to the finale. And if any listeners out there are Succession heads and are keeping up or watching or starting it or all caught up, definitely leave us some comments somewhere. Let us know somehow. Would love to find out who out there is watching Succession. And now that we've talked about getting some guests on, maybe one day once you get caught up on Succession, maybe we'll have to get a guest to really talk about the whole thing
Mhm.
later on down the line. Um,
For
but
sure.
yeah, that's about all I've been watching. But there is some cool film news that, well, some
Mhm.
cool, some
Not so
nerve-wracking, some
cool.
shocking,
Mhm.
but some interesting stuff. Why don't you go ahead and lead with the one that you were just talking about that we had both sort of just noticed or saw about an hour ago.
Mhm. Well, I just came home and then I saw that an hour ago something happened. We got the news that our boys, the Safdie brothers, are splitting up for the next movie,
Mm-hmm.
for the Adam Sandler Ben Affleck one. So it seems like Josh Safdie will be directing this by himself,
Mm-hmm.
which
Which it's
do
I
you
don't
know
know.
why?
I don't know. I've tried to look everywhere. My guess would probably just be that Benny is maybe so busy with acting stuff.
Acting. Mhm.
I highly doubt there's like a riff or beef of any kind. I really don't see that to be the case. Um,
think I don't think either because they're both close. And Josh directed movies by himself
by
before,
himself
right?
prior. Yes. I
So
think
maybe Benny is just enjoying the acting life.
I think so. And I think that the way that they've sort of have always split up duties, it's
Mhm.
always maybe, at least from the outside looking in, that maybe like Josh was maybe handling more of the actual direction. Not that Benny wasn't, but that was
Mhm.
more of Josh's bag than Benny's, who was maybe doing a lot of writing or editing, acting, obviously. I know he
Yeah.
was doing a lot of sound stuff at first too for them, for their film. So I'm looking forward to it. And we have Benny Safdie and coming up in one of our most anticipated that we've talked about,
Mhm.
Oppenheimer,
Yeah.
that I'm very excited for. But that is, I don't doubt that it will still be a great movie though.
Mhm. I just hope they reunite for their next project. I hope
I
this
hope it's not
doesn't
an
become a
eternal
regular
thing.
thing because I don't want
Agree.
another Coen brothers situation.
Yeah, which I guess that was Ethan straight up just stepping away, saying he just didn't
Mhm.
enjoy it anymore, right?
I think
And
so.
did it? That was kind of a similar thing too, wasn't? Because didn't it start off with just Joel directing, and then Ethan kind of popped in for the big major chunk, and
And
then
then
now
ended it
stepped away for the
together.
last one?
Exactly. So I just hope
Mm,
history doesn't repeat itself. I hope it's just I hope there isn't like a big issue. It's just him
yeah,
wanting to do other things. Maybe he got an exciting acting gig
yeah.
that just
They got a lot going on.
exactly maybe like the scheduling didn't
Yeah,
work out, something came up, whatever. I just hope it isn't them
and
beefing.
I I wonder if it's just splitting in terms of directing duties or splitting in terms of the film in general. Could Benny
Mhm.
still be an editor on the film? Could he still be one of the writers, producers?
That's true. Maybe
Um,
just for like
maybe
the
it's just the
shooting period.
directing. He's like, hey, I got too much going on to handle directing.
Mhm. That's
Um,
true. I
I
guess
don't know,
we'll
but
find more in the next couple of
yeah,
days.
the headline seemed a little dramatic that they just like
Mhm.
split, like just straight
Yeah.
up split up.
And it
Um,
just came out, so maybe they're gonna address that headline and let people know
hmm
what's happening. It's
Yep,
still fresh, so
it's very early on. But in other news, there is something rather exciting that I did read about also today that I think maybe was released today, but we have some details on the final Quentin Tarantino film.
mhm.
Did you see this at all?
I did. I did.
So I was this released today, or did you see this sometime before?
No,
Because all
I
the
saw
articles I saw were like from like 4 or 5 hours ago, 2 hours ago, that kind of
before I
thing.
went to work. I saw
Okay.
something a couple hours ago
Okay.
about
Um,
the general plot, a little bit
hmm
more info.
Which for the folks at home listening who aren't aware, it's been announced that Quentin Tarantino's final film will be a film titled The Movie Critic, which just seems like the perfect movie to end his
Mhm.
career with. Did you get to read about the plot at all?
I did, yeah.
It
It's
looks.
about a movie critic in the he actually
Mm-hmm,
existed but wasn't well known.
mm-hmm.
Wasn't it like the 70s?
Yeah, so the film takes place in like 1977,
Mhm,
California, and I guess it's based on like a real dude who wrote
mhm,
in like these like trashy kind of porno magazines, who wrote movie reviews.
mhm.
But
That's
the
gonna be
character,
interesting.
it
That's
looks
definitely like a great fit for Tarantino.
for sure. It's funny because I guess he's saying that the guy is really like kind of cynical, and they say he was like a cross between like Howard Stern and
Mhm.
also a cross between Howard Stern and Travis Bickle, the De Niro character from Taxi Driver. Um,
Interesting.
he said that his film reviews were reminiscent to Travis Bickle's like diary entries in Taxi Driver,
That's a,
and
that's interesting.
very interesting. And to add on to that, we may or may not have talked about this movie, but the
Mhm,
movie Rolling Thunder that Paul Schrader wrote in 1977,
mhm,
Tarantino just like reintroduced it, some new cut or something at Cannes this past week, or is going to
mhm.
this coming week. Um, and he, I guess, asked Paul Schrader. Paul Schrader announced this, that Tarantino asked him if he could remake the ending of Rolling Thunder, and Schrader said, "Yeah, whatever, that'd be cool." So the speculation is that perhaps that will tie in or play into this movie. And Rolling Thunder also came out in 1977, the same year that the movie Critic is set to take place in.
Interesting. So it
So
might be
curious to
for the
know how
movie.
that will play in.
Maybe it's for a
Maybe
scene. Maybe they're in the theater watching it, or he's in the theater
that's
watching
what
it.
I'm thinking. He might be there watching Rolling Thunder.
That's
Um,
exciting.
but very excited. Have we talked about that movie? I don't know if it was on the pod, but I feel like we may have talked about it just
W-
personally,
We
maybe.
talked about it, but I think it was just like us chatting about Paul Schrader
Yes,
because
I think that
I
was it.
watched a couple Paul Schrader movies like a bunch of months
Light
ago, and then we
Sleeper.
talked about
Yeah,
it. Light
that's yeah.
Sleeper and The
Have
Card
you?
Counter.
Yes. Have you? Well, because he has a new movie out too now, The Master Gardener with Joel Edgerton.
I didn't know that. When did it come out?
Oh, in the States, it like just came out like last week.
Really?
I'm gonna try
I
to
don't know
get
if we
into
even got
theaters
it
this
here.
weekend to try to see it. Um, but it's supposed to be enough. Like he said, he's like the last three films I've made, First Reformed, The Card Counter, and this he's made in like
Mhm.
less than 20 days. Which I like that he's like doing all these very small sort of independent things, and I'm
Mhm.
very excited to check it out. Joel Edgerton plays a gardener who I think maybe has some secrets of his own. I think it's pretty ambiguous, the plot, but
Interesting. I need to check if that's playing over here because I need to see
yeah,
it.
yeah. I'm gonna try to see it by the time we record next. Maybe we can talk
Mhm.
about it.
For
Um,
sure.
talk about it then. But very excited, and definitely everyone should check out Rolling Thunder, especially if it
Mhm.
may be making an appearance in the new QT movie. I think it's definitely worth checking out. It's an awesome
Exactly.
'70s movie.
And to see how
Uh,
he remakes the ending, just to
yeah,
have
I
that.
I have a feeling he might like try to do something how he sort of like retold the whole like Manson family murder. It probably
Mm.
how he likes to play with reality in that way, like
Mhm.
what actually happened. I think you're right. He might go to a theater, but the ending will be like a reimagining of, instead of just showing a clip of the real ending, he's probably going to redo it in like a
Mhm.
completely new way. So very excited for this
That'd be
movie, though.
cool. Mhm.
Very, very excited. But beyond that, do you have any other film news? That's kind of the only things that I've sort of seen in the last couple of days.
Well, I have something short, and then I have two comments that I
Okay.
want to read.
Okay.
But the last news is that Ryan Gosling will be singing a song for the Barbie movie.
Ah, interesting.
Just the soundtrack just got released. We got a bunch of, I can read it out. We got a bunch of names on
On it?
who's going to be on it. Yeah.
Oh, let me hear it.
Well, let me just find it real quick. But yeah, he's gonna be singing a original song for this, which I'm very
Hell
excited
yes. I can see that.
about.
I'm not surprised by this. I can totally see this being a thing.
we know that he can sing.
The boy's got the pipes.
He does. Still trying to find the song. There was this image that I got. Here it is. So we have Ava Max, Charlie XCX, I think
Yes.
he's
Uh-huh.
called Dominic Fike, which I like.
Okay.
Dua Lipa,
Dua
that one
Lipa.
we know about. 50-50. Gail Haim is gonna be
Oh,
singing.
no way. Cool.
Ice Spice,
Fuck yes. Let's go.
Kali, Carol G, Khalid, Lizzo is gonna be Nicki Minaj, Pink
Okay.
Panthers,
Oh shit, let's go.
Ryan Gosling, our boy,
Okay.
Tame Impala,
Dope.
and the Kid Laroi.
Interesting. This is a really kind of stacked soundtrack thing. This is interesting. Now that Ice Spice, that's what I needed. I've decided now I'm seeing Barbie before Oppenheimer on opening day. I've
And you
decided.
know what's crazy? There's this rumor that Ice Spice and two other of those names I just listed, I don't know which
Is she in the
ones,
film?
they're remaking the I'm a Barbie Girl song. Yeah,
No fucking way.
they're doing a modern version of that apparently.
Let's go. I'm
So
hyped.
this is gonna be great. I can't wait for that double feature. I'm so excited. And
That is fucking live, guys. I am a munch man over here. I love me some Ice Spice. That got me fucking hyped.
that's great to hear.
Very
This
excited about
soundtrack
that.
could rival like Into the Spider-Verse and a bunch of others.
Yeah,
So
for sure. It's cool to see that they're making like soundtracks sort of a thing again. Like that was like a really big thing in like the 80s or like 90s especially.
mhm,
And like now that they're and there was kind of a drought where there wasn't many like sound great scores for sure. We've been
mhm.
like at the height of like all-time scores, I think.
Yeah,
But not many like soundtracks. I don't think unless I'm just not using my noggin, but at
that's
least
true.
not made such a big deal of it. Like,
Mhm,
oh my god, we have this soundtrack and we're gonna sell the album and we have, you know what I mean? Where it's like its own entity.
mhm. The last time I was Into the Spider-Verse, which
Yeah,
had
that
a
was what,
banging soundtrack.
2017, 19,
20, I think 19,
2019. Yeah, that makes more
18,
sense.
19, maybe even 17. I'm not sure.
Which I still got to see. I'm waiting for the new one so I can watch the first one right before.
You haven't seen it yet?
No, I have not. I think we talked about it a couple weeks ago. I have not, and I'm waiting
Right,
because
right.
the new one's coming out soon, right?
Next
Like this
week?
summer. Oh, next week?
It's next week. It's June 3rd or June
Oh
2nd. The
fuck. It'll
soundtrack,
probably be out by the time this episode comes out then.
true, yeah. And I'll have seen it. I'll be at in the theater day one.
Okay, I'm gonna check it. I'm gonna check the original one and then I'm gonna watch this new one. That's a
Mm-hmm.
fact.
You're gonna
That
love
is
the
a fact.
soundtrack. Trust me.
I'm
You're
looking
gonna like
forward
it.
to it. I've heard nothing but great things.
Hmm. And we'll get the second soundtrack on June 2nd.
Okay.
Metro Boomin is gonna do a song and
On the Spider Verse, or are you going off on
Spider-Verse.
Barbie still? Okay.
Spider-Verse.
I thought my
Yeah.
boy was still snapping on Barbie. I was about to say, chill.
You gotta wait a bit longer for that one,
Yeah.
unfortunately. I wish it would release right now, but
That's live. I'm very excited for that.
mm,
And coming up soon. We're almost in June already.
that's
So it'll
true.
be in July and we're almost there.
And so many movies in June.
I
I counted and I'll be in the cinema 6 times, which
For
is
what? For which movies
well into the
specifically?
Spider-Verse,
Uh-huh.
Indiana Jones,
Oh, that's right.
and
Yeah.
there's Asteroid City.
Is that June already?
That's June, yeah.
Oh, I don't know why I thought that was coming out at like the end of the year. Okay,
Mm-mm.
that's wild.
It's June the
Which
same day as Elementals, that new Pixar movie, or Elemental.
you mentioned it, didn't you, a couple weeks
Yeah,
ago? Yeah.
I did. I think when we talked about our like
Upcoming
the
stuff.
upcoming movies, yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's The Flash.
Uh-huh.
I'm also gonna watch Transformers because my shout out to my boy Mike, my friend,
Uh-huh.
because he invited me. So I'm gonna go watch the new Transformers movie.
Hell yeah.
But
A
yeah,
lot of people are saying the new Asteroid City is like the most Wes Anderson movie from what I've heard.
I heard that, and I'm excited.
I'm excited too. I'm hoping that it's like he sort of, which I'm down for whatever he wants to experiment with, like whatever anyone wants to do. Like I'm just down to see, but I
Mm.
kind of hope it follows more of like of like a plot line as opposed to like more vignetted or anthology-ish that like French Dispatch sort of was.
Hmm.
So I kind of hope it goes back because it looks sweet. It looks
Looks
very
dope.
cool.
Looks beautiful.
Yeah, I'm very excited, and there's some good stuff coming out in theaters and
Hmm.
reappearing in theaters as well. So that's exciting. And what are
For
those
sure.
comments that you had
Well,
previewed?
we got a comment. Remember when we talked about Bring Me the Head of Alfredo Garcia?
Yes, how can I forget?
Uh, because of Mark, who went to the theater, who watched it. It was his birthday,
Yes.
so
Did he
he
did he write
commented.
in? Oh,
I
let's go.
forgot to mention it last week, so I'm going to read it out now. So first of all, he said, "Thank you, gents, for the birthday wishes. It was a screening in London at a very cool
Hell yeah.
retro cinema called the Prince Charles.
Cool.
Side trivia, back in the 70s, it was a porn cinema,
Perfect setting to watch that movie.
which weirdly relates to the Quentin Tarantino topic we just
Yeah.
talked about. In fact, both Tarantino and Kevin Smith both say it's their favorite cinema when they were visiting the city.
Cool.
They show mainly film classics, some of which we've both discussed already on a podcast. It was an original 35 millimeter print with well earned scratches, but it improved upon real changes. Pretty much a full house with an appreciative audience, lots of Mexican beer and tacos afterwards.
That's sick.
That
That's
sounds very
awesome.
cool.
That sounds like a ton of fun. That's super cool that it was a packed house for that movie too. That people
Mhm.
like came out to see that. That's really cool.
That's always great when you get so many people excited for like an older movie.
Of course, yeah.
Mhm. And they had tacos and Mexican
That's
beer,
dope.
so
And showing it on 35 millimeter, that's very cool. That's an awesome
that's
experience.
great.
I'm very jealous, sir. Very jealous.
Me too. Me too. And there's one more comment, and that's the guest this week actually
Hmm.
sent in something which I also forgot. Because remember when where you told the audience if they have an anime movie that they suggest where you could start, something that
Yes.
might be more up your alley.
Yes. Do I have a
So
suggestion?
he does have a suggestion, and he said Grave of the Fireflies. I don't know if you've heard about it.
I have. I can picture that poster in my head, but let me
Yeah.
give that thing a goog and let's see.
I haven't seen it either, but I heard it's absolutely heartbreaking.
Interesting. It's like a
Mhm.
war, like an anti-war sort of film.
Something like that,
Interesting.
yeah.
The plot reads a devastating meditation on the human cost of war. This animated tale follows Sita, a teenager charged with the care of his younger sister, Setsuko, after an American firebombing during World War II separates them from their parents. The tale of survival is as heartbreaking as it is true to life. The siblings rely completely on each other and struggle against all odds to stay together and stay alive.
Mhm.
Wow, very intense. Based on or adapted from a book, actually, a Japanese book,
Interesting.
a short story. Short story.
It's heavy stuff, I heard, so I have to watch it as well.
I'll check it out. I'm very excited. And this was directed by. Not even going to attempt it, but I'm trying to see if there's any other movies that
Mhm.
maybe he's done that I'm aware of. Looks like all. Oh, he's a co-founder of Studio. Is it Ghibli or
Ghibli?
Ghibli?
I
Ghibli.
think I'm not sure.
Okay.
I
Well,
call it
he's a
Ghibli.
co-founder. He's a co-founder of that. He did some other movies, it seems, and he has a very nice, warm face. So I'll check it out for sure.
Mhm.
Thank you for
Yeah,
the suggestion.
that's it. Well, you can thank him
I will
in
thank him in
person.
just a minute. Folks,
We-
we're gonna introduce our new guest in just a minute and get into our movie of the week, The Green Knight.
All right. And now we get to the movie discussion. And we have a special guest that I'm going to introduce. We got Roope, called you're on Instagram as Purgatory Flicks.
Yeah,
And this is one of your favorite movies
yeah, at least from this decade. Yeah, it's
from
my
this
top
decade.
top three. Yeah,
Interesting. Because, yeah, you reached out to me and you told me that. So we're very excited to have you for this discussion to talk about this week's film, which is The Green Knight. Came out in 2021, directed by David Lowery. And it's about Sir Gawain, who is the nephew of King Arthur, was it? I think.
Yeah, King
Um,
Arthur is his uncle. Yeah.
okay. And the movie takes place, or it starts on Christmas Day, and they're all celebrating with King Arthur, all his knights. But he isn't a knight just yet. He's his nephew. He hasn't really gone in on any adventures, hasn't really done anything. And they're there just celebrating Christmas when a Green Knight comes into the room and has a little game, a little something for someone he challenges. And he asks someone to get a hit against him, but just one. And then in 1 year, he gets to return that favor. And so Sir Gavin actually comes forward and wants to accept this challenge, which he does, just thinking about, oh, I'm just gonna get a nice blow on him, kill him, and that's it. But the Green Knight just puts on his weapon, just holds his neck for him to strike, which he gets very confused by, but he does it. He severs his head. And the Green Knight gets up, takes his head, and tells him, 1 year from now, you have to come to me and I'll return the favor. And then he just rides off laughing like a maniac. And then 1 year later, Sir Gavin has to go onto an adventure to the Green Knight for this favor to return. So that's just a quick summary of the movie. And then I'm going to ask you guys. So, first of all, Tristan, this was the first time for you. You haven't seen it before.
That is correct. That is
What was
correct.
it like? Did you like this movie?
Yeah, this is a movie that's been very highly recommended to me for a long time, and it was one where I was like, I should just go see it. But as we've discussed, things that are of like Renaissance era, that kind of thing is very difficult for me. I have never ever enjoyed movies like that or any movies from that sort of era, things like that. Now, this movie I did like. I actually did enjoy this movie very much because it's such a spectacle to like experience that it's one of those things where it's like I wish I would have seen it in the big screen, because I mean, luckily I have a pretty big screen at home, but to really see it in a theater proper, I think is really the true appropriate way to watch a movie like this. Um, but I did very much enjoy it for a movie of like that style that I just don't typically like at all. I did very much enjoy it, and Dev Patel was phenomenal.
Yeah, we talked about it last week. And with this one, it's very cool because it's very stylized. It has a very distinct style. It's very creative and visually just gorgeous. And I was lucky to watch it on big screen. I don't know, Roope, you've seen it on the
Yeah,
big screen,
I
right?
saw it on theaters in 2021 also. I
Cool.
watched it a couple
Yeah.
times since.
Yeah, you work at a movie theater, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So you
Hell
get to
yeah.
watch a lot of great films
yeah,
there.
for free. Yeah.
Hell yeah. And what was your
That's
first
cool.
impression of it? Like, were you blown
Like
away the first time?
first,
Or
I was kind of like what I just watched. That was my
yeah,
first like
yeah.
initial feeling, but it grew on me like through the years, and
Oh,
now
so you didn't like it at first?
I
Interesting.
liked it, but yeah, it wasn't my favorite, but now it is.
Interesting. Interesting. What
Have
about
you
you,
guys?
Dino?
Well, I saw it, like you said, in the theater and I loved it. Like I immediately fell in love with it. It was just like so visually and it was very hypnotic and just
Yeah.
takes you on this journey, which is just so crazy. A lot of crazy things happen. Some of which, especially there's one scene in particular I don't really like, and I think is very weird. I think you guys might
Care to
know this.
elaborate?
Say again? I didn't.
Said care to elaborate?
Well, it's the scene with the rag, the
The
cum
rag,
rag,
yes.
the infamous cum rag scene, which was weird. But all in all, I just really liked it, and it's definitely like one of my favorite films of the last couple of years. But yeah,
Yeah, it's definitely a really good film. Is David Lowery, I guess for both of you guys, do you guys typically like his films, or were familiar with any of his films before seeing The Green Knight, or since then?
That one is interesting because David Lowery, he did a ghost story with
Yes.
Casey Affleck, and that was good. But also he did like 2 live-action Disney remakes.
Mm-hmm. Did he do what was it? The Peter's Dragon?
Pete's Dragon, and the new one. Actually, I watched it like a week ago. The Peter Pan and Wendy.
That's what I wanted to ask you, because I saw you
did that.
Yeah, I didn't like it.
Yeah, I wanted to watch it before this episode, but I didn't get to watch anything because of my exam. But I saw you didn't give it a good review.
Yeah, I just find those remakes really heartless, like usually.
That's
It can be
unfortunate.
tough for sure.
Did you watch Pete's Dragon?
Yeah, I think I liked it a bit more.
Okay.
I think it's one of my favorite, like, those remakes, but yeah.
Interesting. Have either of you guys seen the movie that he did right before The Green Knight, The Old Man and the Gun, that he did with Robert Redford?
I have not.
I saw it. It was entertaining.
Okay. I'm interested in checking that one out.
Same. It looks great.
Yeah, it looks really cool.
Definitely worth a watch. Yeah.
It looks like something that's maybe a little more based in realism compared to some of his other films that are a little more fantastic, maybe. Is that pretty fair?
Yeah, it's not surreal at all, so it's like pretty straightforward. It also has Casey Affleck, I think.
He's also
his boy, yeah. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that one. And I know you're a big fan of Ghost Story, right, Dino?
I am. I have it on my list, so we'll watch it at some point as well. That one's really good too.
Yeah, that one's good. I feel a little mixed on that one from time to time. I feel like my opinion always changes on it, but it's very polarizing.
That's true. And visually as well. So he always has a very distinct eye for visuals and just like fantastical things.
Yeah. In The Green Knight, he goes crazy with the visuals.
He does.
Yeah. Oh, so, yeah, probably his best, at least of the 2 films that I've seen.
Some of your favorite scenes? Think, Roope, if you want to start, are there any scenes that stand out to you?
I think the like fantasy scene in the end, like before the climax, the one where he runs away from the Green Knight, and then the film shows what happens.
That's such a great scene.
Throughout his life, and yeah, that's my favorite scene, and the beginning also with the introduction of Green Knight.
How about you, Tristan?
Honestly, the very last scene I think is really the best. Like when he kind of snaps back into reality again. Like that little minute or 2 minute sort of thing where he kind of just smiles back at Gawain and what does he say? He's like, all right, now it's time, or off with your head, or something like that. Yeah.
Off with your head, yeah.
Yeah, and he kind of just smiles at him, but he kind of smiles at him in almost like an approving, like he sort of respects him for it, you can tell. I really like that scene a lot. It really is the best part of it for me. I really love that part.
About the ending, have either of you guys read the original story this was based on?
I haven't. No, I'm familiar, but I haven't read it.
I haven't read it either.
Okay, so I actually read it before the movie. I was familiar with it, which also helped.
It's like a poem, right?
Liking it a lot. And I'm curious to know, Tristan, because this was the first time seeing it for you.
Yeah.
What do you think happens in the end? How did you do you think he cuts off his head, or?
Oh, at the end of the film or the story?
Because it ends right there. The actual the original story, it doesn't end there.
Really? I would assume that he cuts his head off. I would assume.
He doesn't actually. He just boops him with it and tells him okay, that's it, you can go home now.
I kind of hate that. I can't lie.
Yeah, I think David Lowery changed it.
Yeah, good change. That's horrible.
I read an interview that he had an ending that was graphic and brutal with him chopping the head off, but he decided to change it to more ambiguous.
I think that was the right choice.
Definitely. I like that he did that. But the story, it follows the story very accurately. It does change a few things, like the people he encounters in the movie. Most of them, except the guy who goes hunting,
Is
which
that
is
Barry Keoghan character in the short story who like ties him up and
he's not.
steals the axe? Oh, interesting.
I
And
don't know.
neither is the lady in
Headless.
the cabin, or yeah,
Yeah,
that lady.
she isn't
Hmm.
either.
Oh,
The
with
guy who goes hunting.
the one where she asks him to find the head in the little
Yeah,
pond.
Mhm.
Ah, interesting.
Which is also a great scene. Like that part was very
that scene
surreal.
I still don't really quite understand. Like,
Yeah,
what's the meaning?
there's a lot of this I don't understand, but I did like that scene definitely.
Mhm. That's true. Like you guys said, there's a lot of things, and that's what I like about it, because there's enough of a story, like a cohesive story that you can follow. It's not just because some movies they go crazy with, oh, you have to interpret everything yourself.
Yeah,
But this has enough meat on it, for me at least, that I can follow the story, but at the same time, it leaves a lot for you
interpretation.
to interpretation, for you just to like put together your own like concepts behind it and what it means for you,
Hmm.
which I really like. There's one scene, talking about my favorite scene. I like Roope mentioned the scene where he sees his life if he just ran away, which you can see like he would live with regret his whole life. So that's a great scene. I like the scene where the Green Knight just takes his head and just like he rides off just laughing,
Hmm.
which reminded me of Sleepy Hollow, I think it's called,
Yeah, the Headless Horseman.
the Headless Horseman. And there's another scene where he gets tied up and he's on the ground and the camera spins
Yeah,
around.
that's so cool. That scene.
Super
That's
dope. Yeah,
and you get to him and he's just like dead, it's just bones, and then it goes back and he's alive again. That was a very great scene.
was a great scene. I have a question based on like the text, like since you have read it. I am
Mhm.
kind of curious to know, like, is it written at any point that we know that the Green Knight will just pick his head up? Because if you do know that, it's a ridiculous agreement that Gawain ends up making.
He doesn't know. So
It,
he just thought, I'm just because he gets one strike, right?
yeah,
And then the strike gets returned. So in his head, if I get a good strike,
it's
I'm
done.
gonna just like cut off his head and then I don't have to do it next year.
Right, right.
And then when he gets up and picks up his head, he's like, oh fuck, like what
Yeah,
did I
okay.
just do?
I
He should
wasn't
have
sure if
just
there was any like mention of it in the actual writing of the poem or short story or
I
whatever.
don't think so. I think he
Okay.
just didn't know. He wasn't
Yeah.
sure. Then he
yeah
just
he
discovered it.
should have just like poked a bit with the sword
Yeah.
Mhm.
and get over with instead of
Yeah.
cutting his head off.
Mhm.
Yeah.
In the original story, we also didn't really, because in this movie, it seems like his mother, like she created the Green Knight pretty much.
Yeah,
Hmm.
she cast a spell and
Yeah.
summoned the Green Knight. Yeah,
In the story, I don't think that's the case. I'm pretty sure that's just a legend that appears. But I like this about that movie because to me at least, it was like our parents setting us off on our own adventure to find ourselves and become our own man.
Hmm.
So that's what I liked about it.
And also setting him up for death.
yeah,
Well,
but she
yeah,
gave him the girdle, the one that
Yeah.
protects.
To keep him safe.
true. But he takes it off.
And he
Yeah,
comes in it.
Well, he does that too, which
in a
I
movie
still don't
filled
know
with
what.
weird scenes, that's the weird.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any theory on why that scene? Because it seems I also don't know why that woman looks like, what's her name, Esther?
I don't
Yeah,
remember her name, and it was at it. Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Do you guys have any theory on why they both look the same?
I
I didn't think
guess
about
it's
that.
just like the way he sees her
Hmm.
as basically the same character
Mhm.
he interacted with like in his home.
Was it
Interesting.
the same actress? playing?
Yeah.
It was.
You right? Yeah.
Yeah, Vikander.
Okay. That was really interesting. But a lot of it, I was just like, I'm just gonna take it and just sort of let it wash over me, and try to make some thoughts after. But that I couldn't even. I
Mhm.
think Roope made a good point.
There are a few things which I don't.
Do you
But
guys
there's also
think it was a happy ending,
I think
in a
so.
way?
I think it was the best. I think he made the best ending that he could have, especially hearing what the original text was. I'm so glad they didn't do that. That's genuinely terrible.
yeah.
Like the ambiguity is always the best choice, and for him to like cut it right there and like that last kind of like a look of like the Green Knight's face, like that little like smirk he gives is
Mhm.
like just incredible, and I think it makes it almost like a hopeful or optimistic sort of ending. It doesn't feel negative or like
Mhm.
a
Yeah,
bad, you know what I mean?
he ended
But he
up
did
like
have
with honor
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
instead of when you see how his life would turn out if he decided to like cheat the game in a way. He loses everything while
Yeah,
wearing the girdle.
yeah. No matter how
Like
safe it
all
kept
his
him physically.
family dies, and he's a cruel man in the
Mhm.
scene.
What I also find interesting, Tristan, I think this is gonna surprise you. Do you know the budget of this film?
I do.
Okay,
Because I looked it up afterwards and it was shockingly
it's
lower than
crazy.
what I had thought.
It's crazy.
Um,
50 million.
yes, and through like me doing like personal research on other things, I just
Mhm.
coincidentally was reading that a lot of it was like crowdfunded as well. Like through like
Interesting.
a GoFundMe, Kickstarter sort of thing, where a lot of the associate producers or executive producer titles are people who donated money through GoFundMe to help get the film made.
I wish I knew that sooner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
That's
they
crazy.
it was something like, so whoever sent in $10,000 got to be an executive producer.
Mm.
Whoever sent in whatever was, something like that. But I was shocked because I thought it was going to be fully backed, and I thought the budget was probably going to at least be like maybe a 25-30 kind of thing.
Mhm. That's crazy for how cheap he made that movie because it looks gorgeous.
It's very impressive. It's very, and to do a period, like a true period piece like that for that
Mhm.
is very, very impressive.
Did you guys have any favorite performances?
Dev,
Yeah,
easy.
apart from Dev.
Mhm. Yeah, apart from him.
I always love Barry Keoghan in everything. I think
Yeah,
he's an awesome actor.
and
I
also
like
the
Sean Harris.
short time he was on screen. I think he plays the dad in The Witch from Robert Eggers. The Ralph
Oh,
Ralph.
Ralph Ineson. He plays the
Yeah,
Green Knight, right?
yeah.
He
He has
was
a great voice.
yeah, he was fantastic. I think he was also in the British version of The Office.
It was.
I
No,
think so. I think I read that somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
crazy.
He
But
was
I like Sean
fantastic though.
Harris. Sean Harris, I thought did a phenomenal job. He looked so old and sick.
Was that King Arthur?
Yeah.
King Arthur, yes.
Yeah, they really did a great job. And I was reading that a lot of the like everything on the Green Knight was all practical, like prosthetics and stuff too, which is also very cool. And I love to see that anytime that I can.
Mhm.
Good stuff though.
For
And then
sure.
the woman who played the queen was very familiar too. I feel like was she also in The Witch?
Let me check because she looked familiar to me as well.
Very familiar.
What's her name?
Her name. Oh, she was in The Witch. Her name is Kate Dickey, and she was
Did she
also
play?
in The Northman. The also Robert Eggers.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And Prometheus.
She played the mom, I think, in The Witch.
Okay. So you did get a bunch of actors from The Witch.
Yeah, there's quite the crossover. Was this film made in England? Do you
That I
know, or
actually
was this
don't
shot
know.
in
I think
America?
so. Does it say somewhere? Let me
Uh,
check.
oh, in Ireland, yeah. So in the
Mhm.
UK. Interesting. Now, are you guys typically into Renaissance type of films or films from that sort of era or show, Game of Thrones, even like that whole vibe?
Not really. More like this. This is more like folk
Right.
lore thing.
Yeah.
Same for me. We talked about it last week, Tristan. Not really, but I do like these folk and like mythological piece. So that's what I like. If there's like a little mysticism or like fantasy to it, then it's better.
It
Game of
goes a
Thrones,
long way.
for sure, for sure. Game of Thrones is more up my alley, but not quite there yet. I think the Green Knight is very much at the top of the like these period pieces
The
or like
fantasy folk
medieval.
things. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's fair. That's fair.
Because there's also like nothing quite like it, I feel like.
Yeah, I was trying to think. Do you guys know of any other movies that you would like compare it to or pair it with that you think would, are good companion pieces?
Mm.
I think
I couldn't really think of any
Eggers
other
movie,
movies. Yeah, besides like The Witch or Lighthouse or something like that.
Yeah,
that's the closest.
that was I was thinking also, like those Eggers films.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the closest in terms of style.
I think
But
so.
apart from that, like I said, there's really nothing quite like it.
Agreed. And A24 really, I feel like this was one where they really sort of pulled out the stops. Like, hey, we're not doing like little movie, even though it was made fairly cheaply. Like it's in scale, it's very grand and very big.
Definitely. They definitely choose so many interesting projects, which I appreciate because they're just not just focusing on one thing. They take risks. And this was a very big risk, I feel like.
Yeah. And did not make very much money back, obviously, for them.
It didn't because I feel like a lot of people just wouldn't like it. It's very
Yeah.
out
Yeah, I think
of
when I
course.
saw it on theaters, there was like 3 other people there.
Yeah. It's very
Me and my
empty.
girlfriend.
Yeah. Was the Macbeth Cohen movie, was that also A24?
Yeah,
It was? Okay.
but
Yeah,
released
they're
on
out there
Apple
experimenting.
Plus, I think.
Right, that's right. I think it had a very small limited like theater run, at least over here.
Did you watch it?
No, I haven't. Again, same kind of thing. I was like, hard for me to get into that style of film.
Yeah. But that's another great one. So if you like this one, you might like it.
Yeah, do they at all? Could you kind of see these sort of as being paired? I imagine it's not nearly as surreal maybe as the Green Knight, but it does seem pretty dreamlike and sort of like kind of like that.
It is at times. It's more grounded than this one for sure in comparison. But it's funny that you mentioned it because there's one location in that movie that always reminds me of a location in The Green Knight.
Really?
Every time I watch it, I'm like, oh, I just think of this other location in the Macbeth movie. So
What was
Oh,
the
cool.
location? Because I've seen the film, but I can't think of.
it's the one where, well, in The Green Knight, it's the one where he sees what's it, like the cage and the skeleton inside of it.
Yeah, the crossroad. Yeah.
Yeah, that crossroad, it looks like something from that movie. I don't remember which scene. Maybe you know what I'm talking about, but it's I have to look it up. I have to watch it
Yeah.
again too. But I'll definitely send it to you. Maybe
Both
my mind is
films
just
have
playing.
like witches and stuff also, right?
Maybe my mind is just playing a trick on me, but I don't know why I always think of that other scene. But yeah.
Oh, it sounds like I definitely gotta check it out.
For sure. Denzel Washington is great in it.
Yeah,
It looks amazing. It looks like a Bergman film the way it was shot too.
I think that was the inspiration probably for it.
Yeah.
Wasn't it only one of the Coens who did the film, or was it both?
Yeah, just Joel, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we actually talked about that a little earlier in our little intro that I think at that point I think Ethan Coen was kind of checked out of making movies. I think he said it like stopped being fun for him.
which is sad, but
It's sad, but I understand it. I
that's
mean, it takes a lot out of you, and to do it for
true.
20 years straight, I'm sure is pretty, or longer than that.
And very iconic movies
30.
as well.
Oh yeah, that are very like detail oriented. Like that's not something you can kind of just passively direct. Like you gotta really be on your toe. Which probably helped a lot that he had his brother there.
That's true. If you can just have someone you fully trust to take care of other stuff and just like a collaborator you can just rely on, that helps so much.
Yeah.
But yeah.
What are your guys kind of final thoughts on this movie? Well, I guess the real question, which I'll go ahead and ask our guest first. On a scale of 1 to 10 severed heads, how much is Sir Gawain literally you, or are you literally him?
I think I would have chosen the same way he did in the end, like take off the girdle and just take the hit. Like,
Yeah.
so, but the rest of it, the stuff that happens in the film, maybe 6 something. Yeah.
What about you, Dino?
I would actually go higher because I like the aspect of, because he sees all those knights and all these people that have their own legends and their own adventures and stories to tell. And he just wants that as well. And I can relate to that. I can relate to just, he wants to find his own way. He wants to have these adventures and to experience these things and to have something to tell. So I can relate to that, which I probably give him a 9, to be honest.
Wow.
So I can relate to him a lot. And but yeah, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I love to come inside of girdles as much as the next guy, and give myself 10. No, I would probably maybe go like maybe a 5, because at the end of the day, I think he really is just kind of a clout chaser, like a little bit. Like he's really just doing all this just to kind of get some glory that it means a lot to him, but when you really step back, it's like, is this a real important thing? And those are kind of questions that maybe you ask and answer on multiple viewings.
That's true. I
But I
didn't
was like,
even think about that.
this guy's just clout chasing and made the worst deal of all time, like the dumbest deal of all time.
It feels like almost he seeks like greatness over goodness.
Exactly. Exactly. Until the very ending where he kind of has
Yeah.
that dream sequence or that flash forward where for the first time he actually like puts things into perspective, like, what am I doing here?
Yeah,
But
exactly.
the whole time, and I think that is one thing that I wish was different about I wish it would have really focused on like during his trek, like that he was like really coming to terms with like, I'm going for my death. Like I am approaching my death, like with every step I'm taking. But I guess that also is different because it is sort of to show he's just King Arthur's clout chasing little nephew. But I would probably give it a 5. 5 severed heads, I think, because there almost is a parallel to our friend Walter Paisley from A Bucket of Blood, who's really kind of going to great ends to just be accepted by other people, whether or not it's worthy. And again, the greatness or or the goodness. So, but yeah, I would give it 5 severed heads, I think, personally.
That's true, but the other thing is, I don't think he truly got that he might die, because to that point, he still wasn't sure if this is all a game.
Exactly. And that's why I think they didn't opt for that. I think mainly my wishing was that the approach was different and that it was
For
like
sure.
he was aware. But that's a completely different movie. So it's like I'm not faulting her that it's bad. That's just a whole different approach to a film.
But another thing I want to mention is why I gave it such a high number, because I also really like that aspect in the end. I think that's actually my favorite aspect of it, the regret, because he sees his life and he's like, oh, if I don't do this right now, I'm going to regret it like my whole life. I'm going to think about it. I'm going to be miserable. And that's what I like, because I think that's something a lot of us can relate to, is that we want to do these things, and a lot of times being scared of it, like that afraidness holds us back from achieving greatness. And if we don't take that leap of faith and just try, we might never find out what happens and gonna live with regret our whole lives. And that's something that really resonated with me when I watched that movie. So yeah.
That's very fair. I agree. Have there been
I
other
think I
adaptations
might
of this?
pump up the Severed Heads to 7 because what
Ooh,
Dino just said. Because
just missed.
I was
Okay.
scared shitless to do this. Like
Okay.
I was so scared.
That's very true. That's a great point. I was gonna say, have there been other adaptations of this into film, or is this the only one? At least on
I
a
don't think
bigger scale.
I think this is the only one.
Interesting. I
Maybe
wouldn't be
there have been
surprised. I wouldn't be
adaptations.
maybe. I wouldn't be surprised if we see another maybe in like 20 years or something like that. Someone else giving it a go.
I think they should. It's honestly shocking that no one tried
Yeah.
it before because it's one of the oldest like legends out there.
Yeah.
People
Is it
have
really
always
is it really written anonymously like it says in the film with the title
Mhm,
cards?
Yeah,
I think so.
Okay.
there's an unknown author for the tale.
Interesting.
Is
Because
it
people
long, the
always
story, or short?
mhm, people
I
always
think it's a
focus
short
on
story, right? I
come
think it's a
again?
short story, right?
Yeah, it's really short.
Yeah.
But yeah, what I wanted to say is like people always focus on King Arthur and
Yeah.
other more known people. So I appreciate someone taking this story, which I don't know why it has never been done before, but focusing on someone not as known.
Yeah. I do agree. And I love a first time adaptation for sure.
Mhm.
Cool. Well, I mean, I think we've kind of have tapped out or tapped all everything there is to at least talk about for now. Obviously, there's a lot to discuss in this film. Um, but everyone, everyone at home who's listening, definitely give a round of applause to our first ever literally me guest ever. And I thanks for hopping on, Roope. We loved having you and having a guest on, shaking things up a little bit for our 10th episode.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, should we go ahead and pick next week's movie? And Robert, you want to stay on the line
Yeah, sure. I'm
maybe
curious to
see if
know.
you've get a little head sneak peek into
I don't think
what
I've
next week's will be.
seen any of the picks you've had so far.
Really?
You watched The
Okay.
Bucket of Blood?
I watched Bucket of Blood after I listened to podcast because it made me interested, and it was crazy. I loved it.
It's a fun movie for sure. Well, for those listening, you know the drill. Dino, you want to pull up, or I'll pull up the random number generator,
Mhm.
tell you the number, and then you'll go ahead and read off what movie from my list we'll be watching next week. So
Mhm.
let's see, 1 to 20.
Okay.
Dino, what is number 17 on that list?
Number 17 is Paper Moon,
Oh, cool.
which I
Very
haven't
cool.
seen yet. I'm excited.
Robert, have you seen that movie, Paper Moon?
I haven't even heard of it. Let me pull it up
Ooh,
real quick.
yeah, it's a classic from Peter Bogdanovich and has the greatest, I think, up there with the 400 Blows, but maybe better, the greatest child performance of all time. Tatum
Ooh,
O'Neal, who actually is the youngest Oscar winner of all time for this role.
It's during the
really?
Great Depression.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's so funny, so good. Um, just an all-around great movie.
Poster looks great.
It's a great poster, that's for sure. All right, so Paper Moon, very excited to for you guys to see this movie. I think we lost Roper there, but looks like we're pretty much done with the episode anyway. However, there is something I have to mention. As we were kind of getting things resituated on our end, I pulled up Instagram for a quick minute, and I
The
mean, literally,
coincidence.
is this not the biggest, most coincidental podcast of all time? I feel like there's always something. Um, but just announced on Instagram about an hour ago, Euphoria star Hunter Schafer has joined Anne Hathaway in Mother Mary, A24's upcoming film from director David Lowery of Green Knight fame.
it happens every week, it feels like. And
Always
that's
something.
crazy
There's
because
always
this is
something.
an hour ago, right when we started recording this.
Yeah. But that'll be very cool. It says that it's described as a pop music epic about a fictional musician and her relationship with an iconic fashion designer. So that looks pretty neat. And as you said, not really fantasy. Maybe he's trying to separate himself from that a little bit.
Maybe. Well, he's done other things, but in recent years, he's always had something fantasy related.
Fantasy. I think the Old Man and the Gun, as when I was kind of looking through his filmography, is the only one that sort of isn't.
That's what I was thinking about, but the rest is always has some kind of
Some
fantasy
kind of.
aspect.
But either way, anyway, folks, we got Paper Moon coming up next week. That's by Peter Bogdanovich. You have not seen this movie, Dino?
I have never seen it. I think it's on my watch list. And I've seen a poster, and I've always wanted to watch it, especially because Peter Bogdanovich, I'm not sure, but I think isn't he from Eastern Europe originally? The name definitely is.
The family. He's American.
Okay.
Also, another coincidence. Look at that. He made his first film for Roger Corman, actually, in 1968, called Targets.
There you go.
The coincidences keep on coming, folks. But this is a great. I think of maybe any of the movies that have come from my end. I think this one has the legs to be a favorite for you. I think this one might be the most up. Like, it is really, really good. And like I said, an unbelievable performance from both, but especially Tatum O'Neal, which is a father-daughter duo acting in this movie, which is super cool to see.
Also, they're related in real life?
Yep, that's his daughter, Tatum O'Neal. And I think she's like 8 or 9 or something and won a freaking Oscar.
That's crazy. It's definitely a movie I'm super excited about.
Yeah.
To watch it. I can't wait. Because I've been meaning to watch it for so long.
It's really is one of the all-timers for me. Definitely my top 50 all-time list, maybe even top 30, top 20. Like, it's up there.
And
but
everyone on my Letterboxd who has seen it has given it either 4 or 5 stars.
I'm
most
telling
of them are 5 stars.
Yes, sir. I'm actually going to pull it up on What's the rating on Letterboxd?
4.2.
Yes, sir.
Just very impressive.
Yes, sir. Yeah, pretty much all. There's one bozo who gave it 3 stars, or 2.5 stars here. But yeah, everyone else I know who's seen it is giving it a solid 5. But everyone check it out. This is a very easy film to see. It's pretty much available to rent in most platforms. I would assume everywhere, because I think it has pretty good distribution or whatnot on that front. And it's a very popular movie.
It's on Paramount Plus.
Cool. It's on HBO Max here in the States, it says, or what is now called just Max.
Max, for whatever reason.
Yeah. Which we'll have to talk about that next week.
Did you see the tweet from Peacock?
No. What was it?
Well, everyone was talking about how HBO just dropped the HBO just called Max. And Peacock was like, dude, like, even though there's popular demand, we're not dropping the first word.
P.
The P. It's not just going to be cock. So that was fun.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I definitely want to talk about that some more next week. And if anyone has, I loved hearing the comments. So if anyone has any more comments, whether you're sending to us on Instagram at Every Shot of Painting for my boy Dino, or at Mandalay Film Club for myself, or if you're commenting on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, I don't know if you can comment
YouTube.
on there, but wherever you're commenting, we'd love to hear some more thoughts from you guys. What are your thoughts on Max as opposed to HBO Max? Your thoughts on David Lowery? Your thoughts on Coming in Girdles? We want to know everything. And yeah, thanks again for listening, per usual.
For sure. Just let us know. We always love hearing from you guys. So if you have a topic you want us to talk about, maybe you even have a movie you want us to quickly discuss or talk about if we've seen it and if you liked it, definitely send it our way and we'll be more than happy to.
And shout out to our boy Roope for hopping on the pod. And guys, the comments don't go unnoticed. As I said, if you are very passionate about a film, maybe you'll end up on the pod if the background check does not show that you are a serial killer or something.
That's
you know,
true.
we will
We
love to have
do,
you on.
for sure. And we're gonna have more guests in the future. This was the first one, so we're still figuring out how to do it. But I
Hmm.
think it was first, like a great first guest. Then for episode
100%.
10, great milestone. So
Thank you for listening, Dino. Thank you for just doing this every week. And yeah, Paper Moon, guys, go out and watch it for the next pod. And yeah, cheers, everybody.
bye bye.
Yeah.